Are you ready? The Cornelia Stephanie Show. Wake up to love, your call to action. Join Cornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Cornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cornelia Stephanie Show. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today. I have an amazing, fantastic show for you. A wonderful guest that was on our Stories of Hope series, and I invited her to come back to have another conversation with us, a longer one. What she's here to talk about today is to stand up for yourself and don't play small with Christina Ionides. Christina reminds us to build resilience, courage, and inner strength, to find and know your worth as a woman, find your voice and develop assertive communication skills, express yourself confidently. I won't take shit. Christina Ionides is a passionate self-defense expert, speaker, and mindset and empowerment coach. She launched her empowerment lifestyle brand, Fabulous and Fearless, while working full-time in her corporate career in wealth management. And she's here today to inspire and empower us again into being fabulous and fearless. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Cornelia. Pleasure to be here.
Oh my goodness. It's great that you're doing this empowerment work because it's your passion. It's what it is that you've been training for your entire life, all the things that you're doing. You're working the corporate world, and you said you're working in wealth management, and most of the people that you're working with, I'm assuming, are men.
A lot of them are, yes. It's definitely a male-dominated industry. I mean, it has changed, but it's still a male-dominated industry.
And so I'm sure that you are flexing your wealthy empowerment voice over there too.
Absolutely. It's I'm learning day by day. You just, you got to stand up for yourself and voice your opinion. It's just, if something doesn't work for you, you can't crouch down and just, stand down, especially not if you're a woman.
Where do you see it happening? Where do you see this happening? Like because I see you're pretty active on social media, always putting out content, always inspiring. And so where do you see it happening for women? Where do you see it happening where it makes you want to speak to it again? Where do you see women are not really fully stepping up?
Sometimes I think this, what I've encountered is that males have sometimes made comments that are inappropriate, just difference between men and women, sometimes just the way they view things, very underlying and very kind of almost sneaky comments that if you don't catch it, you may think nothing of it, but certainly things have been said, whether about, women taking time off for being pregnant, and some companies have given, a length of time for that. Like, how can they take off so long? Just certain work that, are they married or not? And do they have a family? So they consider that for hiring. It's just little things like that sometimes you kind of wonder, they have families of their own. Surely their wives or their significant others would have to take time off to raise their kids. So it's just interesting to hear comments like that when they themselves have their own families.
Yeah. And like you said, a lot of times those comments are spoken kind of in a subtle way. Correct. Where it's not necessarily something that, or even sometimes even it's spoken with humor, like making it seem like it's a joke or something, like trying to make trying to make it funny when it's really not. We just kind of like, this is where I see, we just kind of like let it slide by.
Correct. And that's sometimes where, what I consider, being aware, like that's part of the situational awareness of being able to pick up on these kind of, very subtle cues that when you think about it, just shouldn't sit well with anybody. I mean, they're uncalled for. I just don't think they're right, and said by different people, and it's is that my internet?
Yeah, it feels like what is it? The internet is not as stable as we would like it to be.
Okay, I think we're good now. I don't know what happened there. Sorry. Did you hear what I said, or do you need me to repeat
Yeah,
it?
repeat it.
So, I just feel like sometimes these comments are made and they're subtle and they're humorous, but humorous for who? It offends people, and truthfully, they're just not okay. And they need to be confronted and spoken about. That comments like that are not okay in the workplace, and they impact people because, as I mentioned before, the men themselves have families, they have wives, they have children. Someone needs to stay home, and if not necessarily raise them, like when they're first born, did their wives not stay home and take care of them? So it's, sometimes it's little things like that kind of just slip under the radar and no one says anything, but I just don't think that that's an okay thing to do.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like, with the education of what you're out there inspiring women to really claim their worth, to find their inner strength, and stand up for themselves. These are things that you have now become hyper aware of in your own environments. What you're seeing, you're like so hyper aware of it that it's, you see it right away, right?
Yep. I mean, I was once also just sort of like, oh, it's just a comment, and I just let it slide. And now just the fact that, I teach more, I present more, I speak a lot more on this topic, that to your point, I'm a lot more highly aware of it. I don't know if that I would say necessarily sensitive, but aware of it and just not okay with it. And
Yes.
there's been times where I've gotten into discussions with others about it. It's like those comments are just not okay. I know it doesn't always land well on people that don't want to hear it because they think they can just make the comments. But, people, it needs to be addressed, and they need to know that those comments are just not okay.
So let's give the audience an example of, like, let's just make up a scenario. Like what did the person say? And what did the person say?
So, a scenario of, for example, let's say a woman is given, I don't know, 4 months of maternity leave, and she makes a decision, whatever, her and her husband, or however the decision is made, that she's not going to come back to work after that. However, if she lets the company know beforehand, chances are she's probably not going to get paid, through her 4 weeks. And so pay is going to get cut. And, obviously, it does think that for a company or group has to pay that money out. But I think if the roles were reversed, would the men say, oh, I don't want my money? I feel that they would do the exact same thing. Like they would ride it out up until, the time comes, and then you'll let your employer, I'm just not coming back. It just seems like you're not given a good option of like, hey, I'm not coming back, but you can still get paid. And I've had people make comments about, oh, I can't believe she did so and so. And, she acted like she was going to come back. Yeah, but you don't really get a choice, because are you really not going to want to take the money? I think either one would want to take the money, male or female. And so I got into a little bit of a, discussion with someone about that. And he was like, wow, you're sensitive to it. And I kind of just said, well, what if, the shoe was on the other foot? Would you just let the money go? They wouldn't. So why should it make a difference?
Yeah. So what would you say then to, it seems like in that particular instance, you were kind of standing up for the woman that was going out on maternity. It seems like you were doing that. But let's just say the conversation is happening between the coworkers, and you're asking the woman to stand up and speak up for yourself. Would you want her to do that?
I mean, I would, but look, you can't force anyone to do that. You can advise them, you can tell them something, you can possibly guide them, but you certainly can't force anyone.
No.
Because you don't know what their situation or what their thinking is. And, trying to force them it's just not going to work. Again, maybe advise them and say, do you think of this, or maybe approach it this way or that way? And then that's really all you can do at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be nice that if everyone did it, but the reality is that's just not always what happens. And sometimes people don't feel either confident enough, or they feel it's too risky for them. And you don't know what everyone's situation is, that to tell them, hey, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And maybe they also think that the comment is okay. I don't know. Not everyone may be offended by that.
Yeah.
I can't impose like the way I view it, that you necessarily think and see it the way I do.
Right. This was just an example of something that came up in the workplace where you stood up and offered another point of view, basically, instead of just not saying anything, because you were talking about finding, building resilience, your courage and your inner strength, and you are living that, you're practicing that. How does a woman know her worth? How does a woman find her worth? Uh, how does a woman find her worth? Christina?
I think part of it, and because I've gone through this myself, so I'll even take from my own personal experience, I think some of it just comes with partly age, but I think partly also just, having the confidence and the courage to be like, I am worth something. It's about having high self-esteem and speaking up and, demanding what it is that you feel your worth is and asking for it. I mean, if you don't, people are certainly not just going to give it to you. So you have to ask and say, let's say we're talking about a monetary value.
Yeah.
If you don't ask, no one's going to give you even an extra dollar. You've got to go in and have that uncomfortable conversation and, make valid points as to why you're worth whatever that X dollar amount is, and present it accordingly. So, you may get a no, and this has happened to me, but you go back, or they acknowledge it, later on, whatever the case is. But certainly not saying anything is not going to matter. And what's going to end up happening is that you're just going to get annoyed with yourself and discouraged with yourself, which then gives you even less confidence, and you kind of just become smaller and smaller. And then you never build up the courage and that muscle to go out and have that difficult conversation. You do it once, maybe it doesn't go your way. But you know what? You've started to build that muscle. It's the same thing like exercising. You go once, you do it twice, three, you start to build that muscle, and it just becomes easier and easier. These conversations are tough. I'm not going to say that they're easy, but you just have to push past and outside of your comfort zone to have these conversations.
Well, I think even if we can look at it from the point of, if you're finding yourself in a situation where you're feeling that you're not a low self-worth, where you're not being, where the experience that you're in is not mirroring back to you a high self-worth or whatever, right? That this experience is offering the opportunity to you to speak your voice and to stand up and speak your voice, and notice the uncomfortableness that you're feeling inside, and that you just want to go crawl back in the cave. You don't want to say anything because you've been living this way for your whole life, and now you're being asked to up level and step up. And so it's going to be uncomfortable. And like you said, doesn't matter what it is. If you're asking for money, if you're asking for more freedom, more time, more respect, whatever it is, but that you have to be the one to be your own self advocate.
Absolutely. If you don't do it, nobody will. No one's going to advocate for you. Like, I'll give you an example simply with my business, Fabulous and Fearless, that I'm trying to grow.
Yeah.
If I don't advocate for it, if I don't go out and meet people, if I don't go out and shake hands and tell people what I do, it doesn't matter how much I do on social media. People want to I need to go out and push it. Yeah, people can help you, but it's up to me to do it and to grow it. And that's the same thing in anything. It's your worth. And so you have to ask, you have to speak up. It's uncomfortable. Listen, sometimes I don't want to go out there and do it. I'll tell you, it's not always, it's not easy. It's uncomfortable. But it's either that, or I'm not going to be okay with not doing anything. So it's like, you have a choice. Do you not have the uncomfortable conversation, but then you're annoyed at yourself that you don't do it? Or do you have the uncomfortable conversation and have the ask, and then see what happens. You know, you at least from there you say, hey, I did it once, and you can adjust. Maybe you get a no, and you do it a second time, and a third, and a fourth, and so forth, and you constantly just build that muscle.
Yeah.
So absolutely, you know, I always go back to like my exercise and my training. Just keep doing it. Just keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
And
It's you know, it's hard, like you were speaking of, you know, being an entrepreneur and having to show up for your business and having to show up, and because, you know, again, you have to show up for your own self-worth. You have to be your own advocate. You have to show up for your business. You have to, you're the one that has to be excited about what it is that you do. And if you drop the ball or whatever, then nobody else is going to pick up that ball again until you pick it up. So that part. And if we can, even as entrepreneurs, then just say, yeah, I'm using this opportunity to claim a higher sense of self-worth, to share my business with more people because I believe in it. I believe in myself. And by doing that, I'm flipping the program. I'm flipping the program, so that basically I'm showing up and I'm flipping this program that I have, that I'm not going to make it, or it's not going to succeed, or I don't deserve it, or whatever the program is, right?
yep, I know, absolutely. You definitely, you know, you've just got to keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, how long have you been doing the Fabulous and Fearless brand? How long has that been going on again?
So I'll give you a little background, and then I'll
Yeah.
answer the question. So you know, as you know, I've been doing martial arts for over 35 years. Started as a 9-year-old in South Africa, moved here, continued on here. So I've been training martial arts for, as I said, 35 years. I've been teaching karate and self-defense sort of on and off, very haphazardly, not anything formal, just kind of someone would ask, or a library, whichever. And then come COVID, I leveled up my health. I started running. I got into this push-up challenge, which was the real impetus to sort of like push me over the edge of good things, of course. Then I got diagnosed with breast cancer, another great thing, believe it or not. And, you know, between all that, between the good and the struggles, I got the courage, and I was like, you know what? I'm forming a formal business. It's not just going to be like a side gig. It's not just going to be a one-off. I formed an actual business. I filed taxes. I have an EIN. I built a website. So we're going into almost 2 years in July. And I'm out there, you know, after my corporate job in the evenings and the weekends, and I promote it. I meet people. I network. I in groups, whatever it takes to get my name out there, and, you know, be able to present and empower women with the self-defense and empowerment that I do. I'm a very big believer and a huge advocate of it. Was, and obviously am even more now as I do it. The more I present on it, the more I speak on it, while I empower people, it empowers me as well. So it just kind of, it fuels my inner being as well.
Yeah. It's like that's now your mission. That's now what you're doing to move forward, and you're going to leave a legacy behind that is about you empowering women to live in their fabulous state and not listen to the fear, not listen to the fear, right?
You know, you'll always have fear. I mean, I just want to be clear. You know, there's times where I have fear as well. There's no doubt. It's not that I'm fearless, but I'm fearless, like less with fear. And, you know, for example, with me, I've learned to, quote unquote, I run with it. You know, I like have it by my side and I run with it. Other people dance with it, whatever. It's just, don't let it grip you and just completely close you, but learn to work with it or within it, and just keep moving forward. Because the thing is, like, I know when I look at myself, for example, years before, like fear just used to grip me, and I just used to shut down and just couldn't move forward. Now I've learned to just, as I said, I run with it. And it's like, okay, I am scared. I am nervous, but I can do this. And it's for me personally, like I force myself and I push myself to go beyond that point. And then you realize, oh, it wasn't that bad. But you have to get over that hurdle. That's the biggest thing, is that it can completely just sort of suffocate you, and then you just can't do anything.
Well, and you don't want the fear to paralyze you from taking action. That's the thing. Even like when you, like you said, you know, you run with it. even if you take that one action towards it, you realize, oh, it's not that bad. I have found that when it comes to fear, is, our physical body doesn't know, is the fear real or is it not real? Because the mind is thinking the fear and thinking the thoughts that you're going to fall, you're not going to make it, it's going to fail, whatever that is. And then the physical body is feeling that. But if you, like you said, run with it, that is basically feeling the fear and doing it anyway,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And then that's how you can change that program, and that's how you can show up for yourself and do something that, that 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 fear is not going to stop me. But whenever it does come up, that you have a strategy in place of, because hey, fear is going to, like you said, fear is going to show up. What's your strategy? What you're going to do? We know what you're going to do. You're going to run with it. We know that's what you're going to do. Other people are going to dance with it. Other people are going to do different things. But identify what your strategy is of what you're going to do when the fear comes calling.
I mean, the thing with me is that the fear to me is it's basically like an ego, and it's not going to push you beyond a point that you're uncomfortable and you don't know what's going to happen. It's rather going to keep you close, keep you in the known. It doesn't want to take you out into the unknown. And that's where part of it has to be being aware, like noticing that fear is paralyzing you and it's gripping you. And so that's why, okay, I can move beyond that. That, and awareness is what's very key about that. Okay, fear's creeping in. What do I need to do to, whatever that strategy is for you, that you can move beyond that while it's still there. It's not going to disappear, but how do I work with it? So
yeah, knowing that it's going to come up again, knowing it's going to come up again, and then how will you work with it? How will you not be paralyzed by it or shrink, like you said, play small? Because really, right now, the time is really, I mean, we all need to up level and claim more of what it is that we want in our dreams, in our visions, in our world. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. For me, it's like I said, between COVID and my breast cancer and everything that went on, it really gave me the courage finally to like follow my dreams and do what I've always wanted to. Like, for example, with me, I always did well on the karate mat. I've done very well competitively. As you know, I'm a 6-time world karate fighting champion, and I just couldn't somehow put the fact that I did so well on the mat with this other life of mine. Like they just somehow, I couldn't marry them. And now I've finally been able to marry them together. And you know what? I know whatever I want to put my mind to is possible. So it's just pushing through it and really following your heart and your dreams of what it is that you want to do. Is it easy? Absolutely not. But it's certainly worth the shot.
Yeah. Well, it's really good, the work that you're doing. I love that brand, the Fabulous and Fearless brand. I think that's a great brand. And, here you are already, an expert in martial artistry and self-defense, and that taking that message along with the empowerment message, it's for women. It's an important piece to stand up in our voice, to stand up in our confidence, to stand up in our personal power, and not allow. You're gonna love this one. Not allow ourselves to be put into our place, because right, not to be put into our place or dimmed down or small down simply because that's what we've always done, but that we effectively claim more, communicate our boundaries, and stand up for our values and what it is that we believe in, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, as women, I think we've also just been taught to listen, to be nice, to be kind, not to what do you call it? Rattle the cage, or whatever, analogy you want to use. But, I think those are all great qualities for a woman, being kind and all that. But I think there's a time and place for that. If it's not okay with your values or it's overstepping your boundaries, you need to speak up and you need to say something. Just because you can't just be like, well, I'm a woman and, I don't want to rattle the cage. And so I'm just not going to say anything, because the other person's not going to know how you feel. And how are you feeling? You're feeling crappy and not okay with yourself, and you just let it slide. And chances are that's probably going to happen a second time and a third time. And again, as I mentioned before, you're just going to kind of keep getting smaller and smaller and keep crouching down. And then someday something very big is going to happen. And then you certainly won't have the confidence to say anything. So it's about constantly, building that muscle, saying something when you're not okay with it, because there one day is going to come that time where you really are going to have to stand up. And it's going to be a lot easier for you to say whatever it is that you need to when that situation arises, as opposed to being all fearful and, oh my gosh, I can't say anything, but I want to, but I can't. And, those are just not situations you want to be in.
Yeah. I mean, it's your universe that you're creating it's your universe, it's your reality. And if you feel like you can't speak up in your reality because you need to sacrifice yourself so that you can keep the peace because you don't want to hurt somebody else, and here's the other thing. People think that they will hurt someone by speaking their truth, or they will hurt someone by speaking their voice. They think they're going to hurt someone else's feelings if they speak up. Can you believe that?
It's interesting. I've heard that a lot, especially recently, like you're going to hurt their feelings. And I think to myself, what about your feelings?
Yeah.
They're good. You're not okay, but you're concerned about the other person. Like, do you not matter? You're more concerned about everybody else. In the meantime, you're the one suffering inside and hurting. It's like, do you not take priority? So, that's where I'm just, listen, I used to be very much like that. A people pleaser, don't say anything, don't keep the peace, be nice, quiet and everything. I've just, it doesn't, that just doesn't work. I'm sorry. That just got me very upset, got me angry, because I wouldn't say anything. Now I stand my ground. I mean, as I've mentioned to you before, it doesn't have to be confrontational, but if you're not okay with something, then just say it. And the other person might not even know that what they said hurt your feelings or offended you, whichever, because we come from different backgrounds, culturally, different upbringings. And if you just point it out to someone, they may be like, oh, okay, I apologize. I didn't realize that. Or if they did know, they'll need to know that next time that's just not okay to say whatever it is that they said.
Yeah. It's again, it comes down to communication skills, having a good, healthy self-esteem to say, no, I won't take that. No, I'm not going to tolerate that. No, that doesn't work for me. And feeling good about doing that.
Yeah. As they say, no is a full sentence. That's it. That's what I'm learning. No is a full sentence.
Yeah.
You don't need anything beyond that. No is no.
No is no. Yeah. No is a full sentence. Yeah.
Be assertive, as you said, communicated, and that's it. To me, it's a good story. It doesn't have, you have to go on and explain and ramble on. There's just no need for that.
Yeah.
And how the other person takes and how it lands for them. Look, I know that some people get offended and why this, and they interpret it and they make up this whole story. But that's it. If that's your response, I feel like that's sufficient.
Yeah, I like it. Absolutely. Yeah. What do you want to say to the audience? What do you want to leave the audience with today?
Stand up for yourself, use your voice, don't back down, don't play small. I'm a huge advocate for empowering women, standing up for themselves, knowing their worth. I've gone through my own struggles with this, and now that I do this even more so, I want every woman to be confident, courageous, and be fabulous and fearless in all aspects of their life, in their home life, in their relationships, professionally, in every aspect, on the streets, as you said, and as I've told you, just don't take shit when you don't have to.
Yeah.
There's no reason we should. It's a great time to be a woman. And it's really time that, we all empower each other and stand up for each other. So absolutely.
Yeah. Let's
Well,
tell the audience where they can find you on social media. I know that you're pretty active on Instagram as well, right?
I am. So my Instagram is fabulous.fearless. My website is fabulousfearless.com. My LinkedIn is under my first and last name, Christina Ionides. And then my Facebook as well is Fabulous and Fearless, my business Facebook. I also have a personal, but obviously you'll find all the empowerment stuff on my business Facebook. And that's it. I'm not really active on any other, some YouTube, but not, not as much. So yeah, I'm pretty much on, I guess, a lot of the social media platforms. And then, of course, if you want to email me, I'm at Christina@fabulousfearless.com.
Awesome. Well, I think, maybe you'll come back again in another month or so and give us another one of your fabulous and fearless talks. And we'll speak about, what needs to be said at that time. I want to thank you so much, Christina, for coming on the show today. And I want to thank the audience for listening and tuning in.
Thank you, Cornelia. This was wonderful. Can I just say one last thing?
Yes, please.
Okay, so if anyone is in the New York area, the New York City area, I am starting to teach karate and self-defense classes every Wednesday at 6:30 in the Midtown area at a studio called Arrive. It's at West 29th Street. So if you're interested, reach out to me. I'll give you the details, but that's going to be ongoing for adults only. Otherwise, I'm available to, teach and speak at corporations, women's groups, schools, universities. Wherever the women are, I want to empower you.
Oh, that's so good. Well, I think that's great. Definitely. Who knows? We've talked about this before. We might see each other in person.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you,
Well,
Cornelia.
thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.